With the first question, I think like the crux, there are two main points of contention as far as India and Pakistan is concerned. It's Kashmir, and that's closely followed by water. And I think the two of them are very intricately related. Because, you know, in 2005 we had written had a publication called Final Settlement, which the basic crux of the point of the publication was that Kashmir is as much about water as it is about land, which we don't address the aspect of water when it comes to Kashmir. You know, the Indus River, which is shared by both India and Pakistan, the western rivers, all of them flow through Kashmir and into Pakistan. So there is a very clear agenda on the part of Pakistan to make sure that these waters that flow in from the western rivers of the Indus are secure. And for that reason, they are interested in Kashmir as much for the water as they are for the land. In fact, you know, in 2005, President Musharraf had come up with something called the Chenab formula, which is really interesting. And this Chenab formula had said that they would like parts of Jammu. And usually when you talk about Pakistan and India problems over Kashmir, you're mainly dealing with the valley. But this was based on a plan that also segregated a part of Jammu and said we'll give parts of Jammu and the valley will have a referendum. Parts of Jammu will go to Pakistan. And the reason mainly for that is because the Chenab flows through Jammu, which is one of the western rivers of the Indus. So very clearly Kashmir and water, they are both very important points when it comes to India and Pakistan and their problems, and they are both very intricately related.
Pakistan may want Kashmir and the rivers, and China may want that Arunachal Pradesh. But you know, let's restrict ourselves to Indo Pak problem. See, Indo Pak problem began with a historical issue of Hindu-Muslim problem and the interest of Muslims not being protected in what they would have called a Hindu India, you know. Is that still a reason why some amount of exacerbation of problem is there?
You know, I'm of the view that when you talk about either, you know, the sectarian or the religious aspect of it, it's only the surface, you know. It's probably the most talked about issue when it comes to India and Pakistan, that Pakistan is a majority Muslim state, Kashmir is a majority Muslim state, and India is a majority Hindu country. But, you know, the aspect of resources has become very important, not just now, but I think resources is where future conflicts or future points of cooperation will be.
So you believe it's water more than the land that is important to Pakistan? As much important as land, perhaps.
It's as important, yes. I think water is very important. And like you said, you know, the first thing that we deal with when we talk about Indo Pak issues is we look at the sectarian aspect and we look at the religious aspect. Then to some extent when we come to Kashmir, we look at the land aspect. And then we start to think about strategic and security interests. But very rarely do we actually pinpoint that water is a big problem. And you know, both of these countries are mainly they have a very huge agricultural sector that is very dependent on water. If you look at any country actually, and you look at what sectors use water, industrial and domestic or municipal sectors use a very small percentage of water, maybe 20% or 40%. 60 to 80% of that water is used for irrigation and agriculture. And Pakistan and India are very dependent on that. As the population grows, the food security needs grow, then so will like this, you know, need for water. Similarly, even electricity, part of electricity is generated through these hydel projects. So these will all, for the future, they will be very important aspects. And so I think, yeah, water is very important.
You may have mentioned water is an important issue, but whenever I see media bites of Pakistani politicians, they always give the rhetoric about Kashmir hamara hai and the human rights of Kashmir is being violated. Very rarely does the discussion veer towards water and...
Yes, Exactly, you're absolutely right. That is an agenda. At times it's implicit and at times it's hidden. But water is very important, even though it doesn't feature as much in the press, although there have been several times when even in Pakistani press they have said that India is blocking the western rivers, India is going to deem Pakistan, it's going to render Pakistan barren there, because 90% of the water that Pakistan depends on comes from the Indus River. So it is very important.
So I take your point that water is as important an issue as, let's say, Kashmir is, but that doesn't take away from the fact that Kashmir is an important issue.
Kashmir is